Okay, today we're going to be looking at Chodesh Tov, for those of you I didn't yet see in the beginning of Elul. We're in the amazing month of Elul, and I have to say there's like a million topics you could pick in Elul. And I'm just going to touch on one other than the main one I want to touch on, and maybe in the next meeting we'll go more into that. But I do want to suggest, since one of the things besides shofar, maybe we'll hear that at the end of the session. We didn't hear shofar in my house yet. Okay. You want to do shofar, Mr. Sandler? Or after, at the end? Okay, we'll do it at the end. Besides shofar, besides the king is in the field, and besides the 13 attributes of mercy, and besides all the other amazing gifts of Elul, we say 3 extra Tehillim in addition to our regular Tehillim. That's one of the customs of Elul. And we're supposed to be doing an accounting, what's called a Khashbanen an accounting of the soul. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could do that. I have a lot of different tools, but I'm going to suggest something very simple, something that one could easily work on, which is simply, at some point, okay, let's mute everybody. Crackle, crackle. That in order to do this Khashbanen, this accounting of the soul, just any piece of paper you like. If you have like a blank journal or a notebook that you like to write in, then that's also a great idea. And if you're sitting there and you're listening to me, then, kol hakavod, then please have near you a Tehillim. Good morning. Good morning. So please have near you a Tehillim, because we're going to be looking at Tehillim 27. So if you have a Tehillim book somewhere close by and you can grab it, that sounds great. So this very simple concept of connecting to your soul, you can do something very happy and simple. Happy and simple sounds good after the last 6 months that we've all lived through in the world, right? We need some things that are happy and straightforward. So on one column, you can just list what you're grateful for this past year. Just gratitudes. And even that's pretty serious on some level, right? But at least it makes you feel positive that you can actually recall these things. And small or big, even actually the smaller, the better. Esther, good. Okay, everybody's coming in now. So list gratitudes. And then on the other side, you can list ways in which you would like to grow. Growthful progress in the new year, what you're hoping for. And that's it. Just those 2 things. Gratitudes to Hashem and what you're grateful for what happened in the year. Good things, good memories, small and big. And how you would like to grow, how you would like to progress. Okay, so now we're going to go to what I really planned to do today. And I'm very grateful to Hashem that Hashem led me in this direction, because until very late last night, I myself was puzzled what I've been going to talk about. And I had at least 8 shiurim out from my files on my computer, and none of them were resonating with me. It wasn't the right thing. And I knew what I was looking for, but I couldn't find it. And then Hashem finally, at 10 o'clock last night, sent it to my computer and said, here it is. So I hand wrote the dialogue from it, because there was no other way I would have been able to transmit it, since there was nothing to print out. So we're going to be learning about Tehillim 27. And just as, maybe at the end I'll do this, just as a little side, that when I was doing tshuva years and years and years ago in Crown Heights, I was very connected to a very good friend of mine, Ruth Devora. And she was one of these Bali Tshuva women who was like sort of brilliant, accomplished. She immediately learned Hebrew, Yiddish, knew how to read the Rebbe's Sichos in Yiddish, and the rest of us were like trying to makabel them in English, simple language. And she played guitar. And she played this song one day, and I was really at the beginning of my journey. She played this song one day that I've only found out later are the last two phrases of this Tehillim 27 that we say daily. And I fell in love with the song, and I memorized the song before I ever knew what it referred to. So now, we're not going to go through the whole Tehillim, but I'll just read the last two Pesukim. The last two Pesukim, oh good, she finally came back on. Okay. So the last two Pesukim say, Lule emante, lirot betuv Hashem, lirot betuv Hashem be'eretz chayim. I'll read it in English also. Kave el Hashem, hazak ve'emetz levecha, v'kave el Hashem. So in the English it says, maybe I'll just start with the shiur. In the month of Elul, we add Tehillim 27 to our daily prayers. Some people do it twice daily. At the very least, sometime during the day, say it once daily. You can say it in the morning, in the afternoon, by mincha. And 27 is a number that stands for, if you reverse the letters, meaning Zayin and Chaf. Chaf Zayin is 27. Turn on, she still can't hear. I don't know what to do. Let me see 1 second if I could help her. She has a mic. No, she has no mic. Right, your mic is missing. All right, 1 second. Turn on your mic. Okay, I hope that helps her. So 27, when you reverse it, Chaf Zayin, you get Zayin Chaf, which stands for the word Zach, which means pure. Zach literally means pure. So this Tehillim has to do with like purification during all the days that we say it. So what we want to do is we want to look at the final two phrases of the Tehillim, where it says, now I will read it, Lule emante, Lule emante, in my believing, in my trusting, despite all circumstances, that's a parenthesis, in my trusting, in my believing, that I would see the goodness of God in the land of the living. Place your hope in God, strengthen yourself, and He will instill courage into your heart. Place your hope in Hashem. So if some of you have a version where it says, had I not trusted, or had I not believed, which sounds like, oh, so I didn't believe, but Rashi actually comments that this exclamation, had I not trusted, had I not believed, meaning I actually really did trust and believe, that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. The land of the living is Eretz Yisrael. And placing hope in Hashem. And Rashi says that despite whatever was happening in this Tehillim of like sort of a negative energy coming at David HaMelech, that he never stopped believing in Hashem. Never stopped believing in Hashem. So what are the final two phrases of this Tehillim? Lule he'amante. Had I not believed or trusted that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. Hope, tikva. Hope, place your hope in Hashem. Strengthen yourself. And He, Hashem, will instill courage into your heart. Place your hope in Hashem. 3 times it tells us to place our hope in Hashem. This is a very emotional Tehillim, especially the last lines. It talks to our heart. And it's specifically relevant to the month of Elul, not just because it's a custom for us to say it, but there's a very clear hint, what's called a remez, in the actual last two lines of the Tehillim itself, because it starts with the word lulei, which is lamed, vav, lamed, aleph. It is exactly Elul spelled backwards. The very word lulei, believe, trust in Hashem, lulei ha'amante, to place your trust in Hashem, is referring to Elul, because lulei is Elul, just the letters completely backwards. So that's quite amazing that since we say it, and the quintessential essence of the Tehillim lies in the last two phrases, that it's pointing directly at Elul, that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living, and this is Eretz Yisrael. In this verse, there are included four phases, four aspects. First, there's faith, then there's sight, seeing, then there's goodness, and then there's the land of the living. So we're going to take them one at a time. Faith, emunah, sight, ra'eh, goodness, tov, and the land of the living, which refers to Eretz HaKodesh, Eretz Yisrael. In the soul, faith, emunah, is in the crown, keter. This is something that we've talked about before, that we've heard about, just as a quick elucidation, that the soul is comprised of divine channels of godly light that Hashem brings into the world, and those godly channels are called the sefirot. We normally speak of 10 of them. There are in fact 13. 13 means a full face of the sefirot. What is the full face? The full face includes what is hidden in the superconscious above intellect, in what's called keter or crown. There are three aspects of keter or crown superconsciousness, which are on the highest level, simple faith. In the in-between face of keter, of crown, is divine pleasure, called tainug. And in the lowest level, but still superconscious, still above rational thinking, above intellect, is what's called ratzon or will. So above our intellect are our willpower, our connection with God, that's called divine pleasure, and on the very highest ethereal level that we still connect with God, because these are the sefirot, are the channels through which we relate to God. Beyond that, we're already in a very ethereal place, whether we can connect or not. But on the highest level, it's called simple faith. So at the very beginning, the phrase says, lule ha'emante, emunah, faith. And faith is in this level of superconsciousness. Now, what's going to happen to it? How's it going to connect? So the next concept in the Tehillim is to see. Ra'eh. That's my parsha, my birthday parsha just passed. To see. So what do we see? We see apparently with wisdom. We see the inner dimension of the intellect. Seeing, it's interesting on your head where your eyes are located, right? So like right below your mind, your brain area, there's your eyes, and it says that the eyes are the window to the soul. But really, the eyes are the inner level of the intellect, of wisdom. They're the inner dimension of wisdom, so that what we see impacts us greatly, and also what we choose to see reflects out into the world and can impact the world. We've also talked about that, not in this particular lesson, that how you see things, how you decide to look upon other things, actually shifts reality, that we have power in the sense of sight that God has given us to not only take in information, but to reflect information out into the world. And those are choices that we have. So seeing is called the inner dimension of Pnimiyat Chasechel, of intellect. So we went through, in Tehillim 27, we have Emunah, faith, we have Ra'eh, sight, then we have goodness. The goodness is to see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. Goodness is Tov, and goodness is from the heart. So it's the emotional aspect, really, that we're talking about here. First, you have something that's really super conscious, very on a more supernal level, that's constantly feeding you inspirational guidance messages from Hashem, are coming into our intellect and into our consciousness from that super conscious place of Amunah Peshuta. And then how we see is also part of our choices, the choices that we make with our intellect, what we take in and what kind of vision we put out into the world. If you want to even put it simply, you could say that people who are visionaries, people who envision greater good, and even people who are inventors and they envision something new that could help the world, it's because they're using an inner level of intellect called sight to envision what is not yet, but what can be. And we all have that power. We actually all have the power. Some people are very talented at being visionaries, but we all have access to that power of sight. And then what happens is it begins to affect and to bring out the goodness that is the most heartfelt place that we want to see. That's what we want to see. We want to see the goodness of Hashem, right? Right now, there's no question that the whole world is actually, hopefully they're praying every day. And if not, there's certainly knocking on the door and saying, we want to see things change. We want to see the goodness revealed in the world, right? So that's the goodness of the heart. And then it says, and where does this all transpire? It says, in the land of the living. There are a number of different interpretations. Chabad and Rabbi Ginsburgh indicate that the interpretation that we're looking at is that we're talking about this place called the land of the living is Eretz Yisrael, which is a level of, and that's kingdom, that's Malchut. So it's the final frontier that we're talking about, our world, Malchut, what's happening in this most bottom layer of reality, how godliness is coming into it, and how we're affecting it. And Elul is certainly a time where we are affecting and we're renewing all kinds of levels of our own reality, and also we're renewing the partnership and the reality of who we are and who Hashem is and who we are together. So there's a lot of renewal, there's a lot of renovation going on in the month of Elul. So if you happen to be into renovation, then you're in the right place at the right time. So what is it that's happening then, really? So Rabbi Ginsburgh says something very interesting. On Rosh Hashanah, there's a concept that says that we do binyan hamalchus. What that means is it means that we're rebuilding the kingdom, the crownship, the kingship of God. Right? On Rosh Hashanah, it says we crown Hashem king. Does Hashem need to be crowned king? He is the king. There is no other. Ein od milvado. So what is this? We crown the king. What are we actually doing? So it says that a king needs a people, that there is an inherent partnership, that the king desires to lead, to give guidance, to create a society, to create a world that shines his inherent truth and goodness and the most perfected, profound way. And it has to go in stages, right? We're in some of those stages right now that appear to be quite different. But since we believe that Hashem is good and only good, so even in the unfolding, it goes back to simple faith. Even in the unfolding, it's through simple faith that we believe this too is for the good, like Reb Zusha. This is good. We may not perceive it that way, but this is also good. So what we're doing is, on Rosh Hashanah, is we're rebuilding, we're re-accepting this Malchut relationship, the relationship of the king, because the king needs a people. The king without a people is just the king. He's everything. He's one, Hashem. There is ein od milvado. There's nothing else. But Hashem wants us. He actually wants us. He wants us so much that the month of Elul, that's what's sort of one of the, now we're going off of Tehillim 27 for a second. The month of Elul, that's why it's so empowered. It's made potent through so many different aspects that Hashem gives us. He gives us shofar. He gives us the 13 attributes of mercy are shining all the time. And he gives us the Hamelech B'Sadeh, the king is in the field. And Manis Friedman said something very beautiful on one of his King is in the Field videos. He says that why is the king in the field for 30 days? One day wouldn't be enough, to maybe a week, all right? Like all the people couldn't access the king and petition the king and have a personal audience with the king, which is part of what's supposed to happen, that the king is the king, meaning the king, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is close and visible to us. First of all, you have to understand the king is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the king that we're talking about, Hashem. And he's close and visible. He's in a place where we can access him, rather than his throne room, which is like by invitation, and you have to have a pass key, and you have to have an appointment, and you have to go through all the doorways and the guards, and maybe you have to, have your temperature taken. I don't know. There could be many aspects you have to go through in the throne room these days. But the king is not there at the moment. He left his throne room, he left his palace, and he came into the countryside where I love to call myself a peasant. It just resonates with me great because I'm a farm girl. So those of us who are, even if you're a city dweller, there's some place that's your field. Your field means your place of influence, where you're dwelling, where you're actually at on a day-to-day basis. That's your field. In English, it's called your field of influence, like where you do everything you're doing. Your exercises in the morning, your green drink in the morning, your praying in the morning, your cooking, your hosting, your work, everything, all your outreach, whoever you reach out to, your circle, that's your field. So Hashem wants to come there. And what Rabbi Manis Friedman said is, he said, why does he want to come there? Why does Hashem want to come there? For 30 days, every day, Hashem wants to meet with us, and he's radiating, the Alter Rebbe says, a smiling face, really close to us, close and visible, because Hashem wants to, this is what Rabbi Friedman said, Hashem wants to invite us to his palace. He wants to invite us to his palace on Rosh Hashanah. He wants to make sure that we personally know that he cares about each individual. He cares about each of us so much. He has so much connection and love and belief in us and our potential and everything that we could do, that he wants to make sure that we feel that personal connection, that he really wants us as his people. And so he is in our place, in our field. We're able to have that cup of tea or coffee, whatever's your favorite drink, or glass of wine, or whatever you like. Some people like something stronger, with Hashem, and have a down-to-earth talk. And the message Hashem, not only is Hashem listening and receptive to answer us, but one of the messages is that Hashem is saying, great, I'm here with you. I totally support you. I love you. And we're going to grow together. I'm going to help you. And there's just one thing I need. In so many days from now, I have a contract with you that you come to me on Rosh Hashanah and you take me again as your king. I need you. You're my people. And so he's there for 30 days in the field, actually inviting us and requesting us to come and join him on Rosh Hashanah. It's a sort of twist on a familiar tale, but a very interesting point. So that's why we are building the kingship. Binyan Malchus starts on Rosh Hashanah, but now Rabbi Ginsburgh says, because Tehillim 27, to come back to the Tehillim, says, and let's just go back to the whole sentence, which is on my first page. Because of my belief and my trust that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. Place your hope in Hashem, strengthen yourself. Hashem, will instill courage in your heart. Place your hope in Hashem. Because I believe that I would see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living. So because it says in the land of the living, Rabbi Ginsburgh says that even now in Elul, we are actually preparing to build Hashem's Malchus. It was something new for me as of last night. Even now, we are actually, from the point of view of renewing the relationship and revising it and bringing back our most potential high dreams and hopes and expressing gratitude and really feeling close to Hashem. It's a great month for praying. If you're not a prayer, this is a great time to try to just leap in and pray your heart out. Or as my friend Shelley says, sing your heart out when you're praying. Just sing. Just sing, because Hashem loves it. He loves singing. So the whole idea is because we prepare now in Elul for all of the high holidays, for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah, to crown God, to make him king, the one king, and to build Hashem's kingdom in this world. There isn't a better Elul that ever happened on planet Earth than now. There is no better, more amazing Elul that's happening than right now where we're sitting. This is me talking. Because the world is so upside down. We so much need the new light of Elul and the renewal of what can be, what our hopes and our dreams are. We so much need to renew and revitalize on the highest level that relationship with God, and God is close and visible. He's here on our back porch or our front porch or our balcony, or at our tea table in our house. So wherever you want to put him in your field, you could have him, because he's very receptive and open, and he wants to hear our personal ideas. He wants to hear our visions so that he can tap into them. Not that he doesn't have visions himself. God is God. Of course he has visions, but he desires it. He wants a personal relationship. Imagine a spouse always, God forbid, being alone. They don't want to be alone. They want their partner. We are Hashem's Kala. We're Hashem's bride. We're Hashem's wife. He wants the intimacy of constant dialogue, discussion, my point of view, your point of view. He desires it. He takes tremendous pleasure, divine pleasure, when we, the children, the selected children who are supposed to shine the light of godliness into the world, are innovative and have ideas, or even if somebody is an advocate like Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, if you're an advocate for Am Yisrael, Hashem wants that. He wants those aspects of the relationship. That's why he created us. So this is part of that binyan malchus. This is part of renegotiating it, and there really can't be more than this amazing Elul in which we're going to really rebuild the world on a completely different level. So after this phrase of that I would see your goodness in the land of the living, then it says, as the very last phrase, it says, place your hope in Hashem, strengthen and fortify your heart, and hope for Hashem. There's a repetition of this word hope twice. So we need to hope. We actually need hope. Tikva is what hope is in Hebrew. And I've always had this feeling that God created flowers in the world, specifically flowers, even flowers on trees, but all kinds of flowers, in order to teach us what hope is. To me, like a flower, maybe a flower has like a potent remedy to it or something. It could have many different sides that we are aware of, some of them, not of all of them, There are definitely flowers. Take a daisy that's called an echinacea. So it's an immune system builder. It has very potent powers to it. There are many flowers have that. But just the flower, the fact that there are so many different shapes and kinds of flowers that grow in so many different climates around the world, from things that grow in the Amazon forest to things that grow in an alpine high up in the Swiss Alps to things that grow in my garden outside, African lilies. They're indigenous to Eretz Israel, these tall African lilies that grow during the summer. Every time a flower grows, to me, it's a wonder. It's a total wonder, because it starts from like a little schmitzy nothing, a little tiny bud, and it opens, it opens, it opens, it opens, and then suddenly, like one day you see it like in full bloom, and you watch it for however much time it's in full bloom, till its life cycle passes, which could be a month, and for some flowers it could be only a 24-hour period, a day. And in that period of time, you realize there's a miracle happening. How is this going from one stage to another stage to another stage, and I'm witnessing it, and then it's full, shining, radiating, and then it passes from that stage, and flowers have like a shorter lifespan until the next season when they grow. But we witness it. And what does that do? For me, it gives me hope, because it's such a visible sign of godliness in the world. I just feel like all these flowers are all about tikva. They're all about hope. So we need to have hope. And we need to be strengthened by having hope. Hope is how we are enabled to go forward, to grow forward, is because we have hope in Hashem. And that's what the Tehillim is saying us. Place your hope in God, not in people, not in world governments, not in anything else. Just only place your hope in Hashem. And this is how we'll be strengthened. This is how we'll be fortified. That it says every effort that we exert can happen in the land. All we need to do is tune into this level of hope, of placing hope in Hashem. And that's why the Tehillim ends. Place your hope in Hashem, and it will strengthen and fortify you. It will fortify you. It will give you courage, something that is a good thing to have when one wants to progress forward, because sometimes courage means I'm going to go there, and I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't really know how this is going to unfold. I don't have the complete picture. Maybe I don't even know even the beginning of the picture, but I'm willing to move forward because I trust in you. I place my hope in you, Hashem. You're with me, and you'll tell me what, you'll be with me, you'll instruct me what you need to do. So in this Tehillim, we're progressing from a level of faith into a level of hope. And Rabbi Ginsburgh is going to put the two together. What's the relationship between faith, emunah, and hope, which is called tikva? So he says that in Tehillim 27, it begins with faith, lule emante. And in the continuation, there's an intensification of the faith going into hope. So in order for us to connect it, he does a little, one of Rabbi Ginsburg's favorite things, a gematria. Surprise! So write this down if you have a piece of paper. Aleph, Mem, Vav, Nun, Hey. In other words, the word emunah. Aleph, Mem, Vav, Nun, Hey. Emunah, that's faith. The numerical value of those letters that spell the Hebrew word for faith, emunah, they add up to 102. 102. The second word is tikva. Tikva is spelled with the last letter of the Aleph Beit, Taf, then a Kuf, Vav, Vav, He. Again, Tikva is Taf, Kuf, Vav, Vav, He. And that adds up to mathematically 511. So if you add Emunah, faith, and Tikva, hope, if you're a simple mathematician like me, you're going to get it. 102 and 511 adds up to 613. Faith and hope add up to the Taryag mitzvot, 613. So our entire Torah is a combination. It's a connection and a unification in the soul of our faith, the highest level of our soul, to see this goodness of Hashem in the place where we live, especially in the land where we live, but we are also alive. We want to see that and experience that in us, in the place where we're alive. We want to feel enlivened by that faith, and that faith comes and brings us a level of hope, which gives us courage, which fortifies us, which strengthens us to grow forward. Exactly what Elul needs us to do is all in this Tehillim, in the last two lines, right? That I would see the goodness, I would have faith, that I have faith, I believe, I trust, I believe that I will see the goodness of Hashem in the land of the living, and place your hope in Hashem, strengthen and fortify, give courage to your heart, hope in Hashem. So this is a beautiful, beautiful Tehillim, quite amazing.